Book 101 review. Book 101 is all about the books that I read for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest. He is a professor, an author, an expert in AI educator, and he is the author of the book, The Overnight AI Educator. No other than Mr. Matthew Metzger.
Thanks. Thank you, Daniel. Thanks. Great to be on here tonight with you.
Welcome to Book 101, Mr. Matthew. And can you please introduce more about yourself?
Sure. I'm a clinical professor of economics at the Bell College of Business at University of North Carolina at Charlotte. So here in
Mm,
Charlotte, North Carolina.
Indeed, Mr. Matthew Metzger. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. And let's talk about the overnight AI educator. And can faculty truly achieve a meaningful course transformation in 24 hours, or is it about rapid prototyping?
It's a great question. I really feel it's a little bit of both because I think the first time you do it, it is going to be a prototype if you're integrating AI for the first time. But part of my cycle is to each term to go through and kind of iterate and improve upon anything you do. So I'm really trying to set out a set process that faculty can do every term, every semester to kind of keep their course up to date with the kind of the latest pieces with AI and everything else that they need to be equipped with.
Why is it critical for educators to adopt AI now rather than wait for institutional mandates?
Oh, great question. I mean, AI has really transformed higher ed. I mean, the biggest factor I would say is that companies, businesses are all using AI in the workplace, and they're looking for college graduates to come in to have those skills, to already be exposed to AI, to know how to use the tools and know how to use them properly. So not just to copy and paste a exam question or homework, but to actually use it in a productive way. And so if you look at the statistics, 80% probably of companies are using AI. And so we have to train college students to be able to use those tools so that when they go to work, that they're effective, that they can, produce value for these companies. So I would say that's really the main driver.
How do you help faculty move past anxiety about cheating AI dependence to see AI as a teaching multiplier?
Absolutely. A lot of professors are hesitant about it. And like you said, anxious. I mean, the big key is, in my in my opinion, you have to put down your resistance because this tool's here. It's here to stay. And instead of trying to block students from using it, you need to redesign assessments where they can use it. Where in my situation, I encourage my students to use AI. I'm trying to get them to use it in a real productive way. So if you just have kind of closed assessment, multiple choice questions or make this calculation, AI can do all that. And so, you don't need those skills like before. That AI's kind of erased that. So now you need new type of assessments that students can use AI to be productive and produce, good results.
What was the very first step you recommend faculty to take begin their overnight transformation?
Well, in my book, I kind of lay out a five-step process that I do believe can be completed in a short period of time that can get, faculty up to speed. However, if some are hesitant, like you talked about, or anxious, I would always say at first, just try one assignment, take one test you have or homework assignment or something that's really become outdated due to AI and replace it. Replace it with an open-ended task where students are allowed to use AI and just see how it goes. I mean, I think faculty would be surprised that students, they have a desire to learn this. They want to learn how to use AI. And so they want to use it you just want to teach them to use it in the right way. So as the very first step, I would say, if nothing else, just change one assignment, open it up, and then see how it goes for you.
Mr. Matthew, how can AI overhaul a syllabus in under an hour to address AI literacy and ethical use?
It can be much less than an hour. It can just be 5 or 10 minutes. Uh, I mean, the good news about AI is, as a teacher, it can help tremendously with prepping material and designing learning resources. But you mentioned the syllabus. It can easily design a syllabus in 5 or 10 minutes. The more specific you are with your prompts to AI, the better results you're going to get. So if you want in your syllabus, hey, let's address privacy issues, ethical issues, etc., you can put that in your prompt, take an old syllabus and put it in there, add that file, and then have AI create a new version of that syllabus that includes AI, the privacy issues, and anything else you want. But it can rapidly do that for sure.
Rapidly, for sure. It's like 5 minutes is the syllabus is finished. What's your template for creating effective AI prompts to generate rubrics, discussion, questions, or case studies?
Well, I'd say the good news, I was at a conference this summer about this, is that maybe a year ago, prompt engineering was kind of a big thing where you have to learn how to prompt, and it's a skill. AI has increased so rapidly in this last year that that's not really the case anymore. Even if you give AI a bad prompt, the newer models can take it and turn it into a good prompt or understand what you were trying to do, if it was if it was done in a clumsy way. So, even if a person isn't puts in a prompt that's a little bit off, the AI system is going to guide them, say, oh, did you mean this? Or how about this? It'll suggest things and get that person to that right result. So it can be used as a thinking partner, as an assistant. And so that's the way you'd want to think of it, is just, feed that directions to it, and it'll help you get to your end result.
How do you redesign activities so students integrate AI outputs instead of passively accepting them?
It all starts with the assessment, in my view, because if you don't change the assessment, students, the other pieces don't need to change. And so, some faculty, unfortunately, there's constraints depending on what country you're in, or accreditation constraints that you have to have certain exams. But if you have any opportunity to change your exams to more open-ended type assessments, the other pieces start to fall into place. And that's where you can then design the task to include AI. But if it's just a multiple choice exam and you tell students, yeah, you're allowed to use AI, well, they'll just, copy and paste questions and get a, 95%. So that's not the right way to use AI. You're trying to have realistic open-ended tasks and get them to use AI as tools to do that, to achieve those results.
Yes, to achieve 100% clear results. With AI handling basics, what higher order skills should class time prioritize?
That's a great question, because there was just an article last week, I believe, that talked about it may get harder for college graduates to get jobs in the next couple of years, because historically, if you're a college graduate and you go to work for a big company, you might start kind of on the lower end of the scale, obviously, right, and some more lower level tasks. Well, now AI can do all those lower level tasks, so college graduates actually have to come in at a little higher level than they did maybe just 5 years ago. And so those higher level skills, like you're talking about, if you think about Bloom's taxonomy or something like that, however you want to categorize it, but you're going to be involved in more complex tasks. So rather than just something that's real, what I would call artificial, or, the information's all given to you, it's more of a realistic problem. And by that, I mean, realistic problems usually have, unstructured pieces to them. They might have missing data. They might have pieces that aren't there, that you would want to be, but you just can't get data on those certain things. So those are normal constraints if you're trying to do a realistic, messy problem. And so those are the type of tasks you want to give students, is that maybe not all the information's there, but if you go to work, all that information may not be there either. And so you have to be able to deal with whatever is given to you. And so usually that's a little bit of a what we call ill-structured problem in education.
Very well said, Mr. Matthew. Very well said. Where should AI ethics appear in a hastily redesigned course?
Well, you mentioned the syllabus, and I think both schools, just universities in general, are starting to have to think through that more. What are the ethical implications about is the model training on your students' data? So, like at our university, we have Microsoft Copilot and Google Gemini with a partnership with our university and IT department. But part of that then is if students use it, their information's private. It's not being used to train future models on. Now, of course, students could just use whatever models they want, and their data could be at risk. But there's no way to police that. You can't. You don't know if a student's using Claude or Grok or something else on their own personal computer. So universities need to put out a list and say, here's the approved tools that we have the right data handling and the integrity for your information, and that's what we recommend you use. But there's obviously no way to police to block students from using other tools if they choose. And so students have a little bit of responsibility as well. If they want their data to be safe, they need to use those approved tools from the university that they go to.
Mr. Matthew, as a professor, an author, and expert in AI for education, what are your short term and long term goals?
Well, I mean, for short term, for me, is to continue learning more and getting better, and producing a better and better course. But I think part of that comes from learning what other professors are doing and helping other professors to do this. At UNC Charlotte this semester, I was the AI faculty fellow for our College of Business. And so part of my task was to talk to other professors and see how they're using AI in their classes. And just all those conversations generated a lot of ideas, for everyone back and forth. And so I think the more professors that use AI, then the more use cases you have that you can put out there. Well, here I used it in finance, I used it in biology, I used it in chemistry. And people can see there's different ways to use it. There's not just one way to do it. And so the more people you use it, the more use cases you have. And then you can sort of build a critical mass of professors using it. And then it's clear, what the basics are, what the basic principles are to having good AI integration in your courses.
Good luck to your goals, Mr. Math, and looking forward for more success. And what would be your piece of advice for those people out there want to be an author as well as a professor or expert in AI for education?
Well, I would say, as far as in education, again, to jump into AI, because it's certainly not going away. The models are increasing in intelligence so rapidly. It's unbelievable. And so I myself, I was a bit slower to some to AI. It really didn't hit me until 2024 how big of a change this was going to be. And so once I saw it and understood it, though, I was like, well, everything's going this way. And so it is the present already. If you look at statistics, the majority of students, college students, already use AI, over 80%. So they're using it, companies are using it, it's already here. And now the other piece of advice would be trying to figure out what's it going to be like in, say, 5 years. So if you talk about long-term goals, and think about how AI is going to develop and how that's going to affect education and what we do as educators, and trying to stay ahead of that curve. And so that's what I would say. The best advice is first to catch up and then try to get ahead and try to think, one step ahead of how things are going to trend here in the next 5 years.
Yes, people, you need to catch up because AI is the next breakthrough for this generation. And should faculty focus on one AI tool like ChatGPT or experiment with many? How do they choose?
Absolutely experiment. And there are some kind of, you call like meta tools out there. Like it's called Boodlebox is it's kind of it's AI, but includes all these different models under the hood. And so that may be a bit of the future as well when you're talking about what's coming next, because you have different models trying to be number one. You have ChatGPT, you have Gemini, you have Claude, etc. Right? Things like Boodlebox get those different models integrated into that system. And then that model can choose for you, okay, which of these top AI models is best for your task. And so that's definitely coming, where those kind of higher level ones will do the work for you of choosing the right AI model, whether it's like image generation or research or just conversational, whatever you need. So you could either kind of use a bigger model like that or just experiment with different models to see which ones produce the results for you. But I do think those kind of meta models are probably the future.
Mr. Matt, how do overnight changes avoid obsolescence as AI evolves?
Some talking with different faculty, some of the faculty have tried to kind of stay with what I'll call maybe all the older standard teaching methods, are facing a bit of resistance from students because I think students, feel they can see, they understand that how important AI is. And if you're teaching a course that tries to just ignore all that, then you do risk, obsolescence. And so what I'm trying to, propose is that, you can go through a quick process and get up to speed quickly. It doesn't have to be a 6 month or 3 month process or anything like that. So, you just have to kind of mentally be willing to make that shift. And I would say too, some faculty are overestimating the amount of work it would take to shift. But as we talked about earlier, AI can help you. The tools can do so much work, design syllabus, design resources, create, different learning paths for students. It can do a lot of it. So you just have to become familiar with the tools, and then the tools allow you to be much, much more productive.
Yes, and accurate and fast too. What signs confirm an AI course tweak work?
Can you repeat that? What was the
Yes, what signs confirm an AI course tweak work like
oh,
engagement, critical thinking, or workload reduction?
okay. Yeah, and one other thing, just on that previous one, I wanted to say because I think it's really neat is that some of those AI tools can do create what's called a digital twin. And so, if you're talking about, I need to now record all these new lectures or for your course, right? Well, now you can record a few minutes of video, and then you can upload a script, a Word document, and then AI can create a video of you saying that script without you ever saying it. And so I think that's amazing. That's what I'm talking about. It can cut down your workload, and it can even translate it into other languages that you don't speak. So I could upload this script and it could have me speaking in Spanish or Japanese in a video that I never said any of this stuff. But if those learners are in that language, now it's a great fit for that. So it can reduce the workload. And so that's connects to your question about the tweaks and if you do the overnight transformation, definitely engagement should be up, and I found that to be true when I switched my course to be AI integrated. The student evaluations went up, the amount of back and forth with the students went up, the amount of communication between students went up, and then the performance hopefully as well. You should be producing students that are more capable, more business ready to go into the workforce or society or for whatever path they're taking there. That one's obviously a little harder to measure because it might be a couple years before they get out in the workplace and you're able to see the fruits of your labor. But initially, definitely engagement and the number of students completing your course and just overall grade should all increase.
Mr. Matthew, what's your shortcut for training professors who feel outpaced by tech?
Yeah, and that's what, I think you have to go through a process. And I would say, too, I think it's easier if you go through it with a cohort, another group. So just like in college, if someone's taking a biology class, it's not just them, right? It's them and 30 other students. And there's a set time frame and a set path. And so if you want to, do a transformation or something like that, I believe that the same principles apply. It's good to have, you and other people in the same experience going through that, have some goals and have a time frame, and then go to work. Now, if that's not available, you can go through this with AI as a partner. And so, you can get the process from the book, and you can go into ChatGPT or whatever and say, hey, lead me through these 5 steps. Make sure I'm accountable. Let's do step 1 today, step 2 tomorrow, whatever. And it can help you to be a partner in accountability. You can upload your syllabus and say, hey, take a look at my syllabus. Does this make sense? Now take a look at my assignments. Do they make sense? And so I think it's better with a person, but if that's not available, you can use AI as a training partner, I would say, to have accountability and structure.
Very well said, Mr. Matt. Very well said. And before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people. My other podcast, of course. No, my podcast is not available for my slides. So I'm inviting you to please do listen to my one of my audiobooks, people. My one of my audiobooks, because Book 101 Review Volume 3 Suggestion is on Audible, and Book 101 Review Volume 2 Selected, and Book 101 Review Volume 1 Highly Recommended. And of course, my self help. My climate change book, Earth Fever, the Unraveling Climate and Our Race to Restore Balance, and my self help books. Thread of existence weaving the tapestry of life. Life is too short, a journey of discovery, fulfillment, and joy. And stand tall, stand together, breaking the chains of bullying. Available on Audible, and please listen to them. And Mr. Matthew, what's the biggest misconception about rapid AI integrations that holds faculty back?
I'd say the number one misconception is that faculty are thinking, well, if students use AI, then they're not thinking themselves. They're not developing, right? They're using it as a crutch. And, it's not a unreasonable argument. But the issue is if you look at the research, when courses have been redesigned and students use AI, their thinking skills go up. Their critical thinking skills, they can deal with complex problems better, and so on and so forth. So the available research shows it's helping them become better thinkers, not worse. And so it's not a crutch. It's not weakening them. It's helping them. And the logic of it, I think, is very simple because if you think as a professor that if the student interacts with you, say, like in my case, I have a PhD in economics, that if they interact with me, that they'll understand more of economics. Well, ChatGPT can have that same knowledge level, right? It's achieving PhD knowledge level in these subjects. So now they can interact with ChatGPT on economics with someone, it's just a different entity that has this PhD knowledge. And so it's the same thing. You're interacting with someone or something that knows a lot about this subject, and done in the right way, right? You're going to learn more. And so, it helps, it can help students if you set everything up right. They're just using it as another expert, so to speak, as compared to just a different professor. It's just another voice. Doesn't mean it's always correct. AI obviously can make mistakes, and professors can
Yeah.
say things that are incorrect as well. But nonetheless, it can be a great source of knowledge for students to interact with and learn from.
Mr. Matthew Metzger, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. So, can you please invite our listeners to support the Overnight AI Educator?
Sure. And Daniel, I really appreciate you having me as a guest on the podcast. It's been great. And if anyone wants to learn more, the book's on Amazon and also my website. It's overnight.education. They could always email me. I'm happy to talk about things or work with different people. And yeah, just again, want to help people, professors, faculty, get into this new world because it's here and it's exciting. It's a big change, but it's exciting, and I think it'll be ultimately for the better for education and for students.
Yes, people, we need to adopt what's the new breakthrough for this generation. And let's support Mr. Matthew Metzger because if you support him, more and more and more empowering books like this to come. So, Mr. Matthew, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Daniel.
More to come, people. See you soon.